What am I to do when the day is through?
Hi, it's Jackie Russo. Welcome to RazorBranding Podcast, the live video edition. Today, I am very honored to have with us a special guest, new downtown business owner and entrepreneur, Bradley Cruice. So Michael and I have some questions for Bradley. We want to talk about the store that's getting ready to open up and how he's going to help solve the food desert problem in our area. Bradley, welcome to the show.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's great. So I know you've been hard at work for months now, getting the store ready. Hopefully the plan was to be ready by summer, and now you're working ahead of schedule to be open now that we're in the middle of the pandemic and people need groceries and convenient delivery and pickup more so than ever before. So tell us a little bit about the process to getting open. How's that been?
Oh, wow. Well, actually, you started a year ago when we announced and Brand Russo created the brand. I think I gave you like a 10-day notice, I think is what it was. And
Pretty much.
got that turned around. And it was literally a year ago at this time that made the announcement that we'd be opening the store. And I didn't have the funding. I had secured the space. I didn't have the lease. I was so far ahead, that cart was a mile ahead of me, and I've been running to catch up to it ever since. But fast forward now, just had an inspection today. Got a few things we've got to work out and get corrected, but we're hoping to be open in the next couple of weeks. Most of the inspections are done, just have a couple final ones to get done.
That is so exciting. So talk to us about the vision of when you said, hey, I want to be in the grocery store business. What was the catalyst of that? What's the background?
Well, I grew up in the grocery store business. My family had grocery stores in New Orleans, in the mid-city area of New Orleans. Handy Stop was the name. And so I kind of brought that back, renewed the family tradition, if you will, with Handy Stop. And the more I got entrained or should I say, entrenched in downtown and working in downtown, and really found out the food desert, the problem of downtown of not having those fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's really worsened in the last year with Walmart closing and then the store on Four Corners closing, where people don't have the access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And was talking with some colleagues of mine and said, there has to be a solution. And I was working with Healthy Acadiana. And so people kind of looking at me and said, hey, what can you do about it? And literally putting my money where my mouth is.
Talk to me about Healthy Acadiana, because I know that's been a passion of yours for a while now. What's the purpose of the organization, and how do you think these two passions in your life are now dovetailing together?
Well, they really do fit well together. Healthy Acadiana's mission is to create a healthier environment for those people who live and work in Lafayette. And so we're focused on three areas: increasing healthier food options, which, Handy Stop fits right into that. Increasing the opportunities for families and individuals to do not healthier option, more physical opportunities. So creating the opportunities for people to be more physically active, and then finally developing the policy systems and environment to make those first two happen. And Healthy Acadiana been around for about 3 or 4 years now, and really Handy Stop fits right into that.
That's awesome. I love it. So, when I think grocery store, I don't necessarily think healthy activity, but I know you've got some plans lined up for how to get people more active within and outside of the walls of the store. What are those activities looking like?
Yeah, so I just don't want to be a grocery store where you come in, get your groceries and leave and those kind of things. So really want to be a part of downtown where I help people create a healthier lifestyle. And so we're looking at renewing the running club that was down here several years ago, and us being the jump off spot for that. We've done some vegetable boxes. Since we weren't open, we've been providing some vegetable boxes to individuals who want to drive through and pick those up. Looking at, on the mental health side, doing yoga as well as some poetry readings, and we've got space for those. And so really want to look at the holistic approach, which is in line with Healthy Acadiana, where we take that holistic approach to the individual and the family, and with Handy Stop, the entire community.
So Handy Stop's really checking a lot of boxes. So for the running club is my first question. How fast do we have to run? Because, I'm like a walking club member. So is there speed trials? Is it anybody?
No, none of that. It's really just it's an idea that I have, and so it's kind of a placeholder in the back of my mind that that's something I want to get to, because there are so many people who live and work downtown, and if you're just getting off of work, you just walk on over, and we'll start the running club. But yeah, it's walking as well.
That's awesome. So I see some store shelves behind you. It's looking like a store all of a sudden. When do you get your first load in of inventory and maybe a soft opening that people can stop by and grab a gallon of milk on their way home?
So that'll probably in the next couple of weeks. We did the shelves, and when I had this inspection today, that's really was my catalyst. If there were some big red flags that had come up, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to have this produce and milk that's going to expire next week if I've got some major changes to do. But I met with the planning and development department before I even started the process, so I had a really good idea of what we were going to be having to do, and the changes and the expectations to make for the store. And so really, I think a soft opening in the next couple of weeks.
That's so exciting. Now, not everybody thinks about pouring their life savings into a brand new business venture in the middle of a pandemic. So, there's that. But what has the pandemic done? How have you had to pivot anything in terms of store opening, getting things built, how you're going to deliver groceries? I mean, any changes you're having to go through?
So one big change, and it really kind of caught it right before I ordered it, was a salad bar. We planning on having a salad bar here, and people could create their own salads. Well, I actually, before I placed the order, I deleted that salad bar, and so didn't order that piece of equipment. And we will wait until the CDC makes their recommendations on what we should be doing with salad bars and that. We'll be able to make the salad for you, and have it grab and go. So that's one change that saved me several thousands of dollars right off the bat, that I won't have that piece of equipment, but we'll still be able to provide those salads ready-made for those individuals who want that. I mentioned the produce boxes earlier. A local farm contacted me and said, hey, can you be a drop-off point for us? I wasn't open yet, so I'm not selling them. All the proceeds go to the farm. I don't make a dime off of it. So it's really a service to the community. We started out the first week with 33 boxes. We sold 100 a couple weeks ago, 65 on Monday. And so the community has really responded and said, we want this fresh produce. It's literally in the ground on Sunday and in your car on Monday. And that's how fresh the produce is. And so made that little tweak. And then I've been doing a lot of reading on what do we have to clean? How do we clean? Of course, the Office of Public Health has those recommendations, but now we've got an extra layer on that with the COVID crisis. And so some of those operational processes are really being changed and amended at this time.
And then I know there's been some stores who have, counted people as they came in the door, made aisles one way, required face masks. Have you started to kind of formulate your process of how you're going to honor whatever the governor's orders might be upon opening?
Absolutely. So today with the fire marshal here, we calculated what my occupancy load will be. And so I have one for when the world opens up, and then I have one during this COVID crisis. And so we'll have to be responsible for that, and then marking out that 6-foot distance and such. So yeah, that's part of that process that we've had to start thinking about.
I was very impressed. I was walking to work on Monday and saw the line of people picking up the boxes of vegetables, and they were in their cars, and their cars were 6 feet apart. So I felt like you had a lot of really good habits heading down Buchanan Street. It was very good.
And we had masks and such. And when we had a table out there previously, we wiped the table down and cleaned that. But now we're literally just going straight from the back of the truck to wherever they want us to place it in the car. And people have really appreciated that. They've recognized the efforts that we've gone through to keep the spacing, keep the traffic flow going, as well as providing them with those fresh produce.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about the things you're going to have on the shelves. So I know obviously fresh fruits and vegetables, which is awesome. Meats, breads, canned goods, cereals, everything I would think in a normal corner bodega.
Yeah, all of the above. And what I did a year ago is we did a survey with through Brand Russo, and we created a QR code. And I asked the community, what do you want to see in your grocery store? So that I had a good idea on what they were expecting. And so some things surprised me and others did not. But So yes, we'll have a lot of locally sourced. So I'm focused on two things: is locally sourced items and then healthier food options. And so we'll have some of that locally made relish or fresh pressed juices that are coming local. But on the canned side, you'll have, you might have Del Monte peas, and then you're going to have some locally grown fresh peas. So if it's not in your budget or in your lifestyle, I'm hoping to be able to meet you on both ends of that. But local breads, already talking to, met with Longlinase for their French bread. Of course, Evangeline made bread, Emerge juices on the fresh pressed juices. Rev Coffee will be our coffee, and we're going to have a Handy Stop brewery, a Handy Stop special blend, and that's really in honor of my father to have that blend. He drank coffee all the time. And so really focus on those locally sourced items as well as those healthier options.
Knowing you and your energy level, I'm wondering if that coffee is going to have an extra shot of something in it, so everybody else can have your same energy.
Honestly, I don't drink coffee. I love the smell of it, but I don't drink it. I taste it every now and again, and I've tasted the blends, and I farmed that job out to some of the folks who I've been working with on, you tell me, what do you think is the better tasting coffee? I know which one I liked that smelled the best. But back to what we're going to have, we'll have, you mentioned meat, we'll have.
And we lost Bradley.
I know, and you were getting ready to tell a story about coffee in Seattle, weren't you? I felt like when you popped in, I was like, yay, Michael's going to talk about coffee.
Let me,
your time in Seattle was good. You think you're going to get him back?
Let me try.
Oh, he's coming. Hold on.
No.
It's interesting with Wi-Fi. Obviously, the capabilities and the technology is always a little bit of a challenge. We are very honored to be on the LUS Fiber Network downtown, and it usually gives us really high-end access to very fast internet service. And sometimes it's so fast it gets ahead of itself, which might be what happened to our friend Bradley. But he's back now.
There we go.
I lost your audio somehow. I can hear you.
Wi-Fi.
We got you back.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. We can hear and see you.
Can you hear us, Bradley?
This is the 6th time we've done this, and we have managed to have a technological difficulty, different one every time. And I think that's the beauty of live TV.
Let's see.
Oh, there we are.
Yay,
We're back.
and Bradley's back.
All right.
So, Bradley, you were talking about coffee, and Michael joined us, and I think he might have had a little Seattle coffee story he was going to share.
No, I'm going to save those for another time. But,
okay.
All right.
but I did want to ask Bradley, one of the things I loved about your story and working with you guys was hearing your story, and that you grew up in a grocery store. My family was the same way. When I grew up in Morgan City, I had an Italian family, and my aunts ran a family grocery store that were, immigrant based. And I remember running around in that as a kid. And, and it reminded me of you talking about working with your brothers in your dad's place. And I don't know, like I said, it's just perfect for downtown. And I think that people are going to be really embracing that mentality of a community grocer, kind of old school, bringing new ideas to it. But maybe you could talk a little bit about your experiences there, because I think that's a good part of it.
Yeah, certainly. I wouldn't be here without that innovation and entrepreneurship of my father, who at age 36 with 5 boys under the age of 10, one of them just a few years old, decided to start his own business. He was working for a company and went out and started his own grocery store. And it's just an amazing story as I got to learn it all as I grew older. And, my mom kind of taking care of things at home while he was going to the store every day and making it work. And now I know why he came home from work about 7 or 8 o'clock and fell asleep in front of the TV, because I'm doing the same thing. But I'm doing it without small children and all those responsibilities that go along with it. I can't imagine being 36 years old and starting your own business. And very successful for 21 years and expanded it to 3 grocery stores. When the third one opened, my mom, we were a little bit older, and so my mom came to work at the store. And so it really showed that family unit, as you were talking about earlier, Mike. And I remember some of my earliest memories as a child is standing on stacked milk crates to bag groceries and picking up the change on the floor. That was our pay back then. And of course, as many ices we could drink and stuff. So it was just fantastic memories of doing that. And that example that my dad and mom set for personal responsibility and accountability. And I'm kind of really good with math because we had to make our own change at the time. You know, there wasn't a register that told you to change. You had to think about it on your own. And so just doing a lot with little. And that's really the mindset that I brought here to Handy Stop. I love the families that are passing by, and you're going to see me waving because families are passing by, waving to me and seeing the kids. And I've got a lot of them who have asked, can their children come work? I'm like, well, I got some laws I got to follow, but bring them in, and I'd love to, have them come in and visit the store. And we're on third generation. I'll have my grandchildren that'll come in. Actually, they'll come in and see the store, and so I'm really looking forward to that and seeing those girls behind the counter and just exploring what we're doing here.
That's what I love about it. I think you haven't even opened yet, but you already feel like a downtown tradition, and that's kind of the cool part is that, it's going to be really quickly that people are not going to imagine downtown or Lafayette being without you, that kind of thing. And it's because of that experience that goes into it,
And I think they have seen my challenges and my struggles, and many of the people I've talked to while they've walked in and walked by and stopped in, and some of them have seen the progress. And so I think they all feel that I'm being accepted. For me, I'm being accepted into their neighborhood because I am the outsider coming into their neighborhood. And really, I wouldn't have it any other way. If I was able to come in, pop it up, throw some shelves on the floor, and then get moving in 10 days, it wouldn't be the same thing. They're seeing what the challenges and the struggles, and going to reap the rewards here soon.
Yeah, I think people relate to that. I mean, we talk about in our world, branding and whatnot, it's emotional connections, and I think the effort you're putting into these kind of things that anybody does, it shows the investment that not just in yourself, but your investment in Lafayette and the downtown area, and making it better and contributing to it. Obviously you're running a business for profit, but at the same time, what you're providing the community is something that people, I think, are going to get behind and embrace, which is good.
Right, and I see that the examples that I have downtown with Gus and Michelle and what their businesses are doing, once they're established and giving back to that community, and I want to get to that level as well. But I've got some great examples already, just right down the street and across the street from me. We're all on the same block, and so they've set that bar kind of high, and I have to meet that. And I see them in the morning picking up trash or sweeping, and it's the owners doing those types of things, and that's really the expectations I have to meet.
Well, we've talked for years about the collaborative nature downtown and the energy of downtown and how much we all work together and support each other. And I think that you're fitting in very nicely to that culture that's been here since Michelle first opened her doors 20 years ago at Tsunami. So I think you are a welcome addition to the team. Talk a little bit about the actual property itself and how you're using the safe that is, the different elements of the space you're getting ready to incorporate. Because I love this.
Well, okay, so I may not reveal the safe yet. I may not give you the combination to the vault as of yet. But it was really neat. To shorten the story, I was looking for a space and then had looked at several spaces, and in one day, the stars aligned. 4 different people pointed me to this location. And for many reasons, I thought it was an excellent location on a corner, a parking lot, a signal, a light-controlled corner, a parking lot, the drive-through. And this was Herbert Hyman's original department store. So it's got that, that same historical feeling. The building's about 112 years old that we can identify. And so you see that exposed brick behind me over here, whatever side that's on over there.
The other side, but yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah,
that exposed brick. That's the original brick to the building. And so all that was covered up with plaster, with sheetrock. There was this god-awful carpet on the floor, and we revealed that and found some really nice travertine. We found some of the original posts that hold up the building, and really, as much as I could, brought all that original back to where it was. And so, and I have a lease purchase on the building, so we intend on expanding up to the second floor, which is a really neat space that was a mezzanine all the way around when it was the department store. And so I've got baseboards that were here that we repurposed for baseboards of the shelving. We put some trim back up that was here. And so just really trying to get it back to as much as the original feel as it was.
Did you find some pictures of the original building so that you've been able to kind of be true to what the roots were?
I have one picture. It's actually a drawing from 1924 of the 8th anniversary of the opening of this store. And so we'll display that in the seating area. And so it showed me what some of the window fronts were and such. And I've tried to get back to that.
Yeah, Bradley, we took a tour and he showed us the mezzanine that he's talking about. I only went so far. Some members of our team were a little more courageous, and they walked across a plank that was literally above where he's sitting right now. And it was really cool because you're literally stepping back in time. It was the original, and he was showing us where all the walls weren't there, and it was, you could feel the department store that once was there. And it was a little terrifying for me. I'm not good with heights, but it was really cool to kind of see the bones of the building and him talking about where it could be in a few years from now and the growth potential. So it's got so much strong legs to it, you know, which is great.
Yeah, one of the things.
And that's,
Go ahead.
you're kind of sputtering in and out. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah. And Michael, yes, Michael was a little trepidatious about going into the dark unknown there. But we do have a plan. It's part of my business plan as well to open the grocery store and then expand the footprint to more of the first floor when that time arises. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have a lease purchase, and then we'll look at the second floor and then the adjacent parking lot as well. So we have that plan in place. And as downtown grows, and we'll find out 5 years from now what the needs of downtown will be and how we can meet those needs.
And I want to remind everybody who's watching, first of all, thank you for tuning in. If you have questions for Bradley, want to make a request of items you want stocked on the shelves or activities that you want to have scheduled, now's your chance. You have an unlimited audience. And so go ahead and put your requests in because he'd love to hear from you. So, Bradley, I know that your attention to healthy living has shaped a lot of the mission of the store. Doesn't that mean you're not carrying some items?
Yes. So, you know, when I was sitting down with the distributor, you know, they started mentioning cigarettes or, you know, supersized candy and those types of things. And I said, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not a convenience store. I will have healthier options. So I won't necessarily have, I will have candy bars, but I'm not going to have, you know, the big king size things. And so, and I won't have cigarettes either. And really trying to get those healthier options. But yes, we will have some candy. And yes, we will have deli meats, but we will have vegetarian options that are fresh cooked. People think vegetarian, all you think is a salad. Well, you know, we've got some vegetarian lasagna and black bean burgers and some really Unitarian options that we'll have. And so really those healthier options is what we'll have regular traditional juice that you can, you know, if you want that, but we'll also have fresh pressed juices as well that you'll be able to purchase if that's what you're looking for.
That's awesome. You know, I know there's, I don't know, close to 8,000 or 9,000 people who work downtown on a daily basis. So anytime that you can provide more healthy options for them at lunch, I think they're really going to appreciate that.
Yeah. And we're going to have those grab and go options. So if you're just coming back from work, you're at a meeting and you got to get back to your office really quickly, you'll have the opportunity to order it on drive through and just keep heading to your office. Or heading home and you know, running late, you want to grab something for dinner and you want healthier options, we'll have those packaged grab and go meals. We're calling them handy to go. So they'll be handy to go. You'll just be able to pick them up and head on home with those, cook them at home or what have you. Just so trying to really meet the needs of the community.
I think that's awesome. I know anytime you do a remodel in a building, an older building, you're always going to run into challenges. So what's the biggest challenge you faced that required a very inventive solution to be able to stay legal and still accomplish your goal of setting up a store the way you want it to look and feel?
So fortunately, I haven't had to move the footprint a tremendous amount. So with the original plans, we didn't have to move. But what happened was we had to create a fire exit. And, You know, it's not just like, oh, let's put a door in the wall to outside. It has to be fire rated and the hour and a half doors. And I'm learning all these things as I'm going along, right? And so thickness of the sheetrock in walls and ceiling and et cetera. So that was something that we had to add on, as well as a grease trap, because now we're going to have some producing food and stuff. So those were probably the two major things that we had to a challenge. And of course, being located downtown where everything's runs along the sidewalk, because they were building upon building upon building. So there's not a lot of alleyways and such. So that was really just a challenge. But if anybody knows me, I'm going to find a solution to what that challenge is and make it work. And that's what we're doing. Got a few more little things to figure out and before we can get opened up.
I know one of your many lives and careers has been that of professor at SLCC. And so talk a little bit about how that background has helped you be prepared for this next venture in your career.
So I do teach business classes, and one of the shifts that you mentioned, the pivots that you mentioned earlier, was had to teach online, if you will, this semester, which became a little more challenging than I thought because not all the students have the resources. So I had to meet the entire class of where they were at in the middle of the semester, and not having anything prepared and wasn't able to do all those things. We had to really do it in less than a week. And I'm really impressed in the way that SLCC has pivoted and made all those things accessible to their students. So I teach business classes, and one of the classes I teach is entrepreneurship. And so for the last 3 semesters, the students have been hearing about this grocery store I'm going to be opening up, and now I'm going to be opening it up and I won't have the class live. So they haven't really heard about it in the past several weeks, but and I learned from them as well. One of the beauties about teaching that entrepreneurship class is they're fresh ideas, and they're talking about want to open their own bakery and daycare center and jewelry at home and sell things online and menswear and stuff like it. So I had a website developer, a program developer, a gentleman who has lawn care business that he was expanding. Another one whose family, if I said their donut name, you would know them, right? But he was in the class. And then another one whose her family owned a restaurant and they wanted to expand the restaurant. And so at all various ages and stages of their entrepreneurial journey, it's really neat, and we learn from each other.
You know, learning from each other, I think, is important. And I think when we talk about in these interviews professional development, that's one of the themes I keep hearing over and over again, is how much people can get from watching shows like this, teaching classes, taking classes. And this seems like, during this pandemic, the perfect time for people to do more professional development, more studying, more online classes. There's so many opportunities out there. Any off the top of your head recommendations of books people should be reading or websites they should be subscribing to really get some of that entrepreneurial spirit going?
A book I finished recently was The One Thing, and that was, for me, all my files that are open in my head at a time, I call them the beehive of my mind, focusing on one thing. And, it's not just a grocery store, but that healthier lifestyle and that healthier living. So all of the things that I do now fit into that one thing. And it'll probably narrow and get a little more focused as we open the grocery store and that the demand gets for the grocery store. So that was a book that I recently completed, was The One Thing, and that's really it. The big box stores, if you will, they do one thing, and they do one thing really well. Brand Russo does one thing and really well. I think it's kind of neat. Tacos as well as Central Pizza, owned by the same company, but they didn't combine, right? They separated because we do these things really well. And so having those separate businesses, so focused on the one thing that we do really well, and that'll be providing healthier food options locally sourced to the community.
That's awesome. What advice would you give to the younger you?
Continue to follow your passions and your dreams. That's something I've tried to do my entire life. I'm not one who's been 40 years in or 20 years in the same job. As opportunities opened, I jumped at them. When I was married, and certainly the support of my daughters and even support now from the girls and their mom is tremendous. And they helped me get to where I am today. And I still have that support from them and now my granddaughters as well. And so that one piece of advice is follow those dreams. Keep that fire, that passion alive, and follow your dreams.
I think that's a good one. What event would you say has most shaped who you are now?
If not necessarily event, but being accepted into Leadership Lafayette, the business side of me. On that business side, I really didn't come downtown a lot. I lived out in Ridge and with 3 daughters, and I had that life out there. And now, I started coming into downtown with Leadership Lafayette and learned about the things that were going on. Sure, we came to downtown alive occasionally, or festival, or a couple things like that. But getting involved with like-minded individuals who had that same passion and drive and were looking for something, that was what really, I think, catapulted me with Healthy Acadiana, which then, dovetailed into Handy Stop. It was really neat. If I will, I'll extend a story for a moment. One of the exercises, we had to write a letter to ourselves a year from, and they were going to mail it to us a year later. And I took the class, I was accepted in the class 5 years ago. And so I got a letter in the mail 4 years ago, and it was my handwriting. I'm like, who's this? And I'm reading it. It was the letter to me about starting a Healthy Communities Coalition. And I was on my way already to starting that. So it was really holding yourself accountable. And I was able to look back on that and saying, check, yep, we got that. And for me, it's not just starting something, it's doing it. As my dad said, you don't do anything half-ass, pardon my French. But, you get it done. And so really pleased with the Healthy Communities Coalition of Healthy Acadiana, where we are and what we've been doing and what we've accomplished in the community. And personally, I think what shaped me was my upbringing, my mother and father, but the death of my dad really had an impact on me at age 17 when he got killed. That was really a big impact that really told me, you got to value life every day. You don't know when the next day is going to come up. And when you're 17 years of age and you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with that knock on the door and it's a state trooper, then you remember. And I can tell you the last conversation I had with my father was about baseball, because we loved baseball, and I know you do as well. And so baseball just became sweeter to me and more to me, and kind of brought that to my girls. And so that really the death of my father on the personal side really changed me a lot and taught me to value life more and appreciate that everyday thing that I have. And it's through to me today, I don't know how many times I've talked to him in the last year about this grocery store. And, it was really important to me to name the store Handy Stop and the coffee in honor of my dad. And so that was the biggest impact of my life, was the death of my father.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I've heard for years that people didn't want to go on Barbara Walters' show because she always made them cry. And so now people aren't going to let you go on their shows because you make them cry. I know every time I hear you talk about your dad and the relationship that y'all had and the way you shared baseball, that always touches me. And I love that you've done so much in the store to honor him. I think that's a great thing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I wouldn't be the entrepreneur I'd be today without him setting that example. I talk about that in my class quite a bit. I give examples of my dad and my mom as well, because after my dad was killed, my mom stayed in that store 5 more years to when my younger brother graduated from high school, and she was able to set herself up. Really amazing. At age 50, she went to community college and got her HR certification and went back into the workforce really for the first time ever outside of the grocery store was her first entry at age 50, which is truly amazing. So I had the example of my dad as an entrepreneur at age 36 and my mom at age 50 saying, you can start your life over again. You can really be accomplished and successful. And at her funeral, having the commander of the base, she worked at the Air Force Base in New Orleans, having that commander come in and telling us, that was really your mom's base. I didn't run it, she did. That's really a great example for me to have, both with my mom and my dad.
That's awesome. I mean, and I think that anytime you're doing something with that kind of passion behind you, you know you have that little extra juice just to make it that much more successful. So thank you. Who's your longest standing friendship? Who's your best friend?
So that's two different people, but my longest standing friendship is a buddy of mine, Mike, who's an optometrist, Mike Ziegler, Dr. Ziegler. You got him as Dr. Z, but a local optometrist. Met him years ago on a medical mission trip to Mexico, and we just hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. My daughter's done some work from him. She now works an optometrist, and so we've really been friends, and I've talked to him about all these things I've been doing over the years. But probably my best friend now is a buddy of mine, Dwight Kaufman. He happens to be a banker, and so all these personal questions I get to bounce off of him as well. And but it's really great. We'll go to Saints games together, or we'll hang out on his patio, or we'll go to a cigar, sit and relax. And it's just really nice to have somebody to just sit and talk to. And he's on that banking side, so he'll look at it from a little different viewpoint. When I interviewed with 7 banks and applied to 7 banks and I wasn't approved, he was the calming voice that kind of explained to me why. And I was like, that's not why, but he kind of kept me level along the way. Yeah.
That's good. That's very good. If we asked him what he likes the least about you, what do you think he would say? And be careful, because I think he's watching. And he
I can't imagine anybody not liking something to me, but
right? That's what I would say.
Yeah. Probably my, I call it spontaneity. He would probably call it my last minuteness. Like, hey, Dwight, you want to go do this? Well, Bradley, I'm at work till 5:00. Oh, well, yeah, but I think that would probably be it. I'm a get up and go kind of guy. I like to go do things and be active. And, if it's a beautiful day and my boss, who's me, lets me get off of work early, I want to go do something, and I'll give him a holler. And if you had told me, I might have brought some change of clothes. Now I got to go home, kind of thing. So I think that would be it. That's if spontaneity is a bad thing.
I think that's a perfectly legitimate answer. So what's your guilty pleasure?
I just mentioned it, cigars.
Exactly.
And I will say, I've been talking about healthier options. Cigars are healthier options to cigarettes.
Sure, and vaping and any number of things you could smoke. So I could see how you can justify that.
It's a much, yeah. I'm not a chocolate person. I'm not a coffee person. I do like the sweet candy, the sweets and sours, that kind of thing, but not chocolate. But relaxing is a cigar and bourbon.
That's awesome. Dwight has just commented that your boss is an a-hole.
He would be absolutely correct on that. Yeah, I can be occasionally.
So.
But yes, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I just thought it just popped up. Thanks, Dwight. I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. How would you like to be remembered?
As a loving, caring individual, whether that's loving, caring dad or a loving, caring friend or a loving, caring spouse, just somebody who was passionate about what he did, and that passion, your family, your work, your community involvement, just remembered that way. I remember at my dad's funeral, it's to this day one of the largest non-public individuals' funeral that I ever attended, and all the people who were there and the stories I heard about my dad and my mom as well. I hope I have half of that funeral and half of that respect that people had for my father. But it's just that humility, which is not my strong suit, but people that said, yeah, he was a loving guy and he helped care for XYZ.
That's awesome. What do you say to yourself when you're in doubt?
You kind of cut out. What do I say?
To yourself when you're in doubt. Like whenever you're in doubt, what do you say to yourself?
My own little saying is get out the pity pool, dry yourself off, go get it done.
Nice. That is awesome. What advice would you give to this year's graduates? Because obviously they're facing a challenge that's never been faced before.
High school or college graduates?
You can pick.
Okay, you cut out, but I'll
You
do
can
both.
pick.
Actually, it was okay. I'll do college because that's what I've been teaching. And entrepreneurship is really, you have an opportunity. There's going to be a new norm created, and you have an opportunity to make your mark in that new norm. That mark might be that you're opening a company that's making masks, or going to work for a company that's making ventilators, or pharmaceutical research on the biomed side. But we will create a new norm, and you have the opportunity with all your freshness and all your new education and all your new ideas and youth. You now have the opportunity to have a direct impact and shape that new norm, because you didn't know what the business world, you might have known it a little bit, but you didn't know what that business world looked like. So you don't have to overcome all those old things we used to do it that way kind of commentary. Go out and help create that new norm.
I think that's a great point. And thinking about the way we used to do it, I think the people who've done it the same way for 10, 20, 30, 40 years are at a disadvantage right now, because it's harder to have done something the same way for decades and have to change than somebody who's entering fresh and gets to do it in the right way for this time. So I think that's very wise on your part. Yeah. What historical event would you most like to have witnessed?
Someone asked me that question a few months ago. Actually, it was Dwight's wife, Ozzy, asked me that question a month ago, and it would be the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, that is a good one. Have you seen Hamilton yet?
I have not seen Hamilton. Dwight actually got me hooked on the series Adams, and I watched that series over the last couple months. But again, that new norm, the opportunities that these men saw, the visionaries that they were, and the opportunity of this great new land, and what can we do with this new land, I think is immense.
When I think about how old they were, I mean, half our age as they were founding this country, without modern technology for research and background and information, I am stunned on a daily basis that they pulled it off.
Yeah, if you watch some of those movies about it, or documentaries, or read some of the books, actually, it really is amazing. They just didn't email it or fax it over to get your signature and send it back. Okay, yeah, Ben Franklin's coming from Philadelphia. He'll be here in a couple days, or Adams is coming from Massachusetts, and the river was flooded and he can't get across. He'll be here next week. It's just crazy, yeah.
Well, and to think, they'd all grown up in England, so they had a certain idea of what government should be, in their opinion. It should be something different than that. And so they just said, let's create this one from scratch. What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing to me. And 200
it
years
is,
later,
and that's why I would have loved to have been there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good choice. What's the best mistake you ever made?
The best mistake I ever made. Oh, wow.
It's a tough
Best mistake I ever made. That is a tough one. When you don't make mistakes, there's that humility again, right?
Right.
I think it would be, I guess I'll stick with this local. I'm trying to think of some others. But it would be some of the mistakes I've made along the way with starting this business. I should have never announced when I did, but it was the best thing I did because of the timing. I didn't have a lease on the building. I didn't have funding one. I had an idea, a concept that I had been kicking around, and some people talked with me about, and but now it's out there, and I can't get it back, and I've got to get it done. So I think that somewhat calculated, but it was a good mistake to make.
That's awesome. So, what is your pettiest pet peeve?
Tardiness.
Oh, that's a good one, though.
That's
I don't
easy.
think that's very petty.
Yeah, I remember my oldest daughter, Ambry, was in band with Dr. Gerald Wagasback at Acadiana High, and I heard it for the first time. He would say, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, don't bother coming.
Michael had
Now, that does not apply to my employees. I still want them to come to work, but a few minutes late, but on time.
Right.
On time, yeah.
Michael and his dad both have that theory. 5 minutes early is already on time, so on time is late. And he had a professor who would close the door to class, and if you arrived after the door was closed and locked, then you were fired and not allowed into class, because that's how it is at work. You have to be on time. So I think that that when you can learn that young, it's a good skill to have for the rest of your life. What's one thing you'd change about
I'm
yourself?
not that bad as an instructor. I'm not that bad
I'm
as
sure.
an instructor. I don't lock the door. I let them come in.
No, I've been a guest lecturer in your classes, and I think you're a great instructor. They definitely seem to be enraptured when you were talking.
Well, thank you.
No. You know what it reminds me of? The scene from Indiana Jones when he's come back in the first one, and he's teaching the college classes, and the girl's sitting in the front kind of looking at him moony-eyed. Every time she blinks, you can see, right? That's what I see some of your students doing with you. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I see how it is. Uh-huh.
I think it's an exaggeration. That's a marketing and branding twist you're putting on it. Yeah.
I have to tell you, I've been, how many semesters now? 5, 6 semesters I've showed up at your class for a guest lecture, and they seem pretty into it every time I'm there.
Well, I hope
They
so.
like you.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, they like you for sure. So what's the greatest gift we can give to each other?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The greatest gift we can give to each other?
Love. It's simple. Love your neighbor. Love your individual. Love you. And of course, there's going to be that variations of love, but I think that love and understanding. Getting back to the simple example of being late for class, I don't close the door because I don't understand where everybody's coming from. That single mom whose child had a messy diaper and she had to change it again, and she got late to daycare, which made her late to come into school, and she's trying to get her nursing assistant certification so she can go out. I'm not one to judge that. Just understand and love. And I think for me, it's the easiest thing is that golden rule: love one another as you would want them to love you. So it's a little twist on it, but yeah, I think just love and understanding.
Now I can appreciate that. As I had to chime in on this because what my dad would say is that's a you problem, not a me problem. I don't know if he heard me.
No, he did.
Yeah, but so yeah, he would shut that down. But so it now it is ingrained in me, and my kids will tell you is that we will drive around the block to be on time. Like if we're early, we'll literally just circle the destination so we pull up on time. And so they all know that being on time is like the thing, and you are on time for things.
Tell him about your college professor that used to close the door on you.
Oh, that was Dutch Kepler, and he was. I remember us battling it out always. But I'm so grateful for him for all the things that he taught me, and I think anybody who studied with him would say the same thing. It was just there's no excuses. It's like you work hard. The quality comes from quantity. It's like working hard, grinding it out, and being accountable, really, and professionally at least. So those are the kind of things that I took away from that. And you can tell the people that have that in them. You and Jackie are very similar. You were talking earlier about personality types and whatnot. Like Jackie called me on a Friday and said, "Hey, I want to do a podcast. I have a guest scheduled on Monday." So that's the world I live in, is that, I have an idea, let's do it. There's no thinking about it, processing it. It was like, hey, this is an idea, let's do it. If it, and let's make it happen. And there's no margin for no. There's not a no in her vocabulary. And I think the same thing for you. So, that's kind of how that all works for that.
But Bradley, isn't that the theory of entrepreneurship, that you have to fail fast? Like you figure out quickly if it's going to work or not.
Absolutely. Fail fast so you can figure it out. Make those modifications or changes so then you back on the feet and hit the ground running again. But fail fast. But learn from those mistakes. And I think it's called in the, one of the terms is fail smart. And that you do fail fast and fail smart so you can make those changes corrected.
Absolutely. All right, we are now going to enter the lightning round. So these are your favorites. There's no wrong answer. It's just whatever your favorites are.
All right, I might have to walk.
And catch a better Wi-Fi signal?
You're cutting out some walkers to the to.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, get
maybe
closer
get
to
a
your
little
router. Yeah, get closer to your router, and then as you walk, we'll actually get to see the store.
What's that?
I said it'll be great. You'll be closer to the router, and so as you walk, we can see a little bit of the store behind you as you walk through to your office. So now our show is mobile.
I'm gonna go see if this will work. Yeah, mobile. It's mobile. So
That's
we'll
right.
put the brick wall behind me. There we go.
Oh, that's very nice. That is lovely.
All right.
Okay, good. So this is the lightning round. So there are no wrong answers. It's just based on your favorites. So what is your favorite place on Earth?
Disney World.
All right. Movie you can't turn off.
I'm sorry.
Your favorite movie that you can't turn off.
Oh, you're broken up. I'm sorry. Something I can't turn off.
Yeah, favorite movie. Movie that you can't turn off?
Movie. Oh, National Treasure.
Oh, that's a good one. Your favorite TV show to binge watch?
I really don't binge watch, but what I'm watching now is Suits.
Oh, I loved Suits, by the way, with the now Princess Meghan Markle, but then just actress Meghan Markle. But it's a great show about lawyers with a twist.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Favorite book?
Anything related to Kennedy.
Okay.
I love that whole melodrama.
So, in your opinion, was there a single shooter in the book depository?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So and I know we're diverting a little bit from the lightning round, but I'm curious. There have been so many theories on what actually happened that day. After all of your extensive reading, which one do you think is accurate?
I don't have, we were just talking about this the other day. I think it's either mob or that political aspect of it.
Okay. I think both of those have
LBJ
been
and
shown.
company.
Right.
Yeah.
They both have some credibility to them. Favorite podcast?
Of course, Razor Brand.
You know, I am going to have to start paying people because I love that answer. Favorite car?
66 Mustang, which when my father died, he had one, and I wound up buying another one.
Really? Convertible or hardtop?
I wish I had a convertible, but it was a hardtop. It was coupe.
Okay. All right. Favorite musician?
Phil Collins.
Excellent. Have you seen him live in concert?
I have not. I haven't done a lot of live concerts in my life. I don't know why,
Okay.
but yeah.
Do you have a favorite concert that you have been to?
Beach Boys several times.
Ooh. I can
It's
imagine
always
those would be
relaxing
awesome.
and fun, and there's no downside to Beach Boys.
Yeah, I can see that. So with Phil Collins as your favorite musician, is your favorite song one of his or somebody else's?
I don't. That's gonna be hard for me to answer because I really don't have a favorite song. It's probably some Disney song with all my girls. I really don't have a favorite song.
All right. Is baseball your favorite sport, or is there another one you put at the top
Absolutely.
of the list?
No
Yeah.
baseball.
Yeah, and you and I have done some Raging Cajuns games together, so I know you're a true fan.
Yes.
Favorite meal?
Red beans and rice.
Ooh, yummy. Favorite
And
leisure
I'll add
activity? Uh-huh.
leisure activity. I just mentioned it earlier. Would be cigars and
Mm-hmm.
or now the sun's out, hanging out at the pool with my daughters.
That's a good choice. What were you going to add to favorite meal?
PB&J.
Really?
I can eat that all day long.
Our third daughter, Maggie, literally does eat them 3 times a day.
Yeah.
But
I love
only if
peanut
Michael
butter.
makes them. Apparently, my uncle makes the best PB and J.
Strawberry jelly triple decker.
Ooh.
Well, I have a secret for that. It's and Maggie will attest to it, but it's the way my mom used to make it for me. It's all in how you make it. You have to put the peanut butter down and put the jelly on the peanut butter and then mix it thoroughly onto the bread. And I can't prove it, but I think there's a chemical reaction that happens when you do that, and it just makes it taste better. I swear by it. Try it.
I'm gonna try it. I have not done the mixing, but
you gotta put it on top of the meter and swirl it in this kind of motion. And I'm telling you, it changes everything.
All right, I'm gonna try that out tomorrow.
All right,
Bradley, I'm providing a hard eye roll at this time. I just want you to know that. I mean, there's no way it's any different. But he has himself convinced, and he has our daughter convinced. So we'll see. Favorite way to treat yourself? Cigars?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured. Okay, and now we conclude with what is probably my favorite section, the questions from the Actors Studio from the late James Lipton. Bradley, what is your favorite word?
Perseverance.
Your least favorite word?
Can't.
What turns you on? It's a family show, Bradley. Keep it clean.
Yeah, that's outdoors, sunshine.
Okay. And what turns you off?
Negativity, negative people.
Sound or noise that you love the most?
The girls laughing. My two daughters, when they're laughing, it's intoxicating. It's so hilarious.
I have an old video of our kids from Festival International buying some drums. So I get to watch it every year when it comes up in my Facebook memories. And the sound of their little kid giggles, it is so perfect.
Yeah. My two younger daughters, Victoria and Abigail, hi girls, they're like best friends now. And their oldest sister, Ambry, is a little bit older. But when the three of them get together and they just start laughing, everybody else starts laughing. It's just fantastic.
Right. Oh, it's magical.
Yeah.
The sound or noise that you hate?
Creaking, that kind of chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard sound, that creaking sound.
I just heard it in my head. Thanks a lot. Your favorite curse word?
I can't say it.
What letter does it start with?
With an S.
Okay. All right.
Shucks. All shucks.
Yeah, exactly. What profession other than your own would you love to attempt?
Being an attorney.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it just from watching Suits, or have you always thought that?
Well, watching Suits and then before that, Boston Legal. But
yeah.
my mom always told me I was so argumentative I could be a lawyer. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see that part of it. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to do. Teach full time.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. When you arrive at heaven, what do you want to hear God say at the pearly gates?
Come on in.
Excellent answer. Bradley, thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts, your energy, the work you've done to make Acadiana healthier. And thank you for Handy Stop, because it is exactly what downtown needs, and we're really looking forward to having it open.
Thank you. I've been blessed to be able to provide the opportunity, truly blessed, and thank you guys for all your help.
No, thank you. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today to watch, to listen, whether you're on live or you're seeing this later. We appreciate you being a part of it. We have received tons of amazing suggestions of future guests, and so we're working on setting those up now. And so we're really excited about what the next few weeks will hold. And be sure to come back on Friday when Michelle Ezel of Tsunami Sushi will be joining us, and it'll be fun to hear what she has to say about the restaurant, where she started from, what they've been doing, and how they've handled their pandemic pivot. So thank you all. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate your shares, and we appreciate you watching.
What am I to do? Wait a minute.